This is Fam Electric Ghost. We're live on the air with Mike Wood for the first time. Welcome to the Fam Electric Ghost podcast. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Well, we love talking to people from around the world. As I said, we've been podcasting since 2016, almost at 1,300 episodes. What we like to do is talk to people about what they're passionate about. And before we get to the heart of your story, we ask a couple questions of every guest on the show. What motivates you, and why do you do what you do?
What motivates me, paying it forward. I'm grateful for so many things in my life and just wanting to pay it forward. That's kind of where I'm at in my life. Ready
Mm-hmm.
to repay the debts.
So, like your website, your URL is like you have a transformative 10-week program called "Learn to Love Being You," right?
Yeah, I do. It's a.
Now,
Go ahead.
now is that something you come to develop over the years? Maybe we can tell the story. Like, how did you get to this?
Yeah, so about 6 years ago, I kind of had a spiritual awakening, almost an end of the road type of a thing, whether it was an awakening or a death of the old Mike. But I grew up with anxiety and depression and a rare form of dyslexia, kind of made it hard for me to learn the way that everybody else did. And I just, I worked really hard. And over the years, I kept achieving the next thing that I thought would make me happy. And, 45 years old, and I realized that I'd achieved everything that I'd ever asked for, and I was still miserable. So, kind of started me on a bit of a journey. And my 10-week program is a compilation of all of the things that I discovered about me turning my focus inward, and how there's a lot of universal laws about how the mind and the body work together that uh, most people don't know. I think most people should have been taught most of the stuff in my program in second or third grade. I'm actually teaching my youngest kid who's 10 years old most of this stuff right now, and he's mastering it as good or better than most people that actually take my course that are adults. So uh, yeah, that's kind of the inception of the program, is just uh, 6 years of an intense focus inward, and the solutions that I found.
That's interesting because I talked to a lot of creators because the podcast was originally about like people who were like writers, artists, musicians, film directors, people like that. But what I
Yeah,
find is like when I talk to a lot of creators, we kind of keep that childlike curiosity. Like it
yeah,
follows us our whole life, right? And a lot of what we're able to do as a creative is we tap into our vulnerability. We tap into what the Victorians called the looking glass self, right? You look in that mirror and you allow yourself to be vulnerable and you create some of your best work by being more willing to tap into your subconscious mind, like your
yeah,
spiritual self, like all the pillars of a human being. It's like multiple levels. It's spiritual, it's the mind, it's the soul, the body, the heart, it's everything. And,
yeah,
and when you can do that, then it resonates with people because it feels authentic, it feels real, it's a vibe they can understand.
yeah.
But a lot of times we put up walls after we're kids saying, well, we can't do this, we won't do this, this is impossible to do that. Did you start to like challenge that and go back to that kind of like childlike innocence?
Yeah, I had to go back and face all the fears of the past. The one of the mind-blowing things that I learned is just two or three laws about how the subconscious mind works. And one of them is that the subconscious mind has no concept of time. And that could be a curse for a lot of people, but once you understand it, it can also become a blessing, because everything that has ever happened to us in the past that was trauma or fear based, um, it all happened in the present moment. A lot of that stuff is still sticking around with us because it happened in the present moment, and it's still the present moment. The gift is, because it's still the present moment, and to your point, we can use our imagination now, go back in our mind, using our imagination, go back to that moment when we had like for me, I couldn't read when I was in kindergarten. So I go back to kindergarten when I first realized that I couldn't read like the rest of the kids. My teacher was getting pissed off at me, and I got in an emotional state. It happened in the present moment. And because I got into an elevated emotional state, I got programmed with, I'm stupid. However, I was left feeling in that moment,
Mhm.
well, that was just going to haunt me forever unless I went back to that moment, reframed the entire thing with love, compassion, forgiveness for that teacher, for myself, for the other students who were laughing at me. And now all of a sudden it moves that old negative memory out of the fear bucket, kind of puts it into the love bucket, what I'd say. And by using my imagination to go back to that specific moment, it gets reframed, and all of a sudden, I'm 48 years old trying to start a new business here, learn to love being you, and I don't feel stupid anymore. I actually have the courage and the confidence. I don't have those thoughts in my head telling me I'm stupid.
Mhm.
I'm wondering where those thoughts are coming from because I've gone back and I've addressed those.
Well, I think it's like you have to be able to kind of reprogram. Like in my day
Yeah,
job, I'm a software guy. I've been in
yeah,
software for like 30 years. And part of software engineering is that we can reprogram or restructure or reinvent anything. And we do
yes,
it exponentially. And whatever we knew yesterday is like yesterday's gone. We have to think about now. Right. So a
yeah,
lot of times we have to just exponentially change the pillars.
yeah,
Structural change is like everywhere in what we do. And we have to realize it's like, whatever we didn't know yesterday, we know something now. So we change it.
yeah.
But
And
it's,
you have to go back to that old program and rewrite it.
yeah, we
Yeah.
have to rewrite it. And it's a structural change. We're pulling out the guts, like pulling out the infrastructure.
That is
Like,
exactly how our subconscious mind works. I've gone back, and when I started doing this, I could feel energies in my hand. That was one of the spiritual things that happened early on in my thing. I started playing with my own energies, and I got a guy came across me on social media somewhere, and he had energy healing. And I don't know what pulled me to him, but I'm like, I gotta go
mhm.
talk to this guy. I need help. I don't know what's going on with me. And he is the guy who taught me how to do all this. The Buddhists have been doing it for 2,500 years, and there's a lot of different ways to go back and reprogram that subconscious mind. But it's pretty funny that that's what you do for a living, and that's what I'm here talking about. Because
Yeah.
literally, the subconscious mind is a supercomputer. Like it is. We should be treating it exactly like a computer because the computer has no concept of multiple people. That's another thing. Like, it doesn't know the difference between you and somebody else that you're talking to. So if I say a negative word to you right now, my subconscious mind has no idea. It's a program that I'm putting out into the universe. I might as well be saying it to myself. So if
Mhm.
I'm saying something negative to you, the subconscious computer, it doesn't. I'm typing it in the keyboard. I'm telling it how stupid it is. Well, it doesn't know it's you or me. So I'm left feeling horrible because of the words that I'm speaking. So our subconscious mind is literally a computer. It doesn't have a rational thinking mind.
Well, a lot of times what the problem is that we have a filter and our brain creates this filter to kind of keep us safe, right? So we
Yes.
we pull out like what we think we like. So what you see, and this happens like when you have witnesses to a crime. And I took
Yeah.
some law classes when I was in college, and the professor one day did this thing. We reenacted a crime in front of the whole class,
Yeah.
and they videotaped it. And then they asked us to take notes about who was the perpetrator, who was the victim, who was that. We looked at everybody came back, had like misidentified the perpetrator, had different information about the eye color, like what happened. We put it on tape and said, this is what actually happened. Everybody had a different perspective because they had filters. And everybody's filter was making them kind of preconceive what they was reasonable to them, what made sense to them. And that's the
Yeah.
problem is like you have to eventually go ask yourself, well, why did I do that?
Yeah. What
This
is
is
your
what was
filter?
actually happened. And I
Yeah.
said this happened.
Yeah.
You have to challenge those filters, and people don't like doing that.
It's scary. But you're 100% right. The subconscious mind, its job is to protect us. And in doing so, it's hurting us because it's protecting us from things we don't need to be protected from. Like, am I a good COO of Jarrett Companies, the company that I work for? If you tell me I'm a shitty COO, that's gonna hurt my feelings, right? But if I take that on myself, Matt, and I don't, you call me a shitty attorney, well, that doesn't bother me. Why should one bother me and the other doesn't? Because of what I identify with. That now all of a sudden that's something for the subconscious mind to protect. It doesn't know the difference between life and death or protecting me from you calling me a bad COO.
Everything's a wolf at the door. You know, the
Yeah,
problem,
exactly.
everything's the wolf, and then you have to learn to tell us like, hey, that's not a wolf, right?
Exactly.
That's a bunny rabbit. That's nothing. It's like you got to understand. It's like so you're getting. I saw this film where like a young hawk was a bit in a nest with the other little young hawks, and this butterfly comes, and it never seen a butterfly, and it was scared. It was trying to run away because it had no idea. Wait, that butterfly to it was a wolf at the door. Now, later,
Yeah,
it's going to learn when a butterfly is something I could eat. But at that
yeah,
point, it's like it was a danger.
right. Yeah, that's exactly how the mind works. And the thing that's beautiful about the subconscious mind is like if you imagine a 2-year-old little boy walking along the edge of the pool, and the little boy falls in and almost drowns, and then somebody comes along, saves it, gets the air out of its lungs, and rescues him. It's a traumatic experience where the little boy was left feeling he got into an emotional state and a clear intention that if I don't like that, I almost died, I can't do that again. Well, that's a memory that the subconscious mind is going to hold on a high level. So now the next time a little boy comes walking along the edge of the pool, he's going to go like, I'm getting away from that pool. That's what the subconscious mind is designed to do, to keep us alive. But unfortunately, we're evolving as a human species, and now where it's protecting us from all these things on social media, anything that we literally identify with, whether it's your political party, your race, your nationality, anything, your sports. Like I used this with my son the other day because he's got the same rare form of dyslexia that I do, and so he's struggling at reading. He's 10 years old and he's struggling. And we walked through this earlier a couple years ago with him with soccer because he was getting upset about losing soccer. So it's like, hey, Tuck, all you got to do is take being a good soccer player off of your Christmas tree. Take that ornament off your Christmas tree and then you won't bother you anymore. And he's like, what do you mean? I said, Tuck, you are so much more than a soccer player. You're not a good player or a bad player. You just play soccer, but you're so much more than a soccer player. So he goes through this exercise, he says it out loud, and all of a sudden he goes and plays soccer with his friends, and it doesn't matter if he wins or loses, he's just playing.
Yeah.
And so we did this again with learning to read, because he's at the same area I was when I was in kindergarten. Now he's in third grade. We got him in a special school that's helping him learn because we kind of know what's going on. But he come home, he's crying because he can't read like the other kids. And I was like, dude, you're not a good reader or a bad reader. You just read. You're so much more than a reader. And he put that into his own words and he speaks it out in the universe, goes back to school the next day, struggling with reading, and he doesn't break down because his subconscious mind's not trying to protect him for being a good reader. And all of a sudden he could just read and experience the words the way they are without.
Yeah. I mean, you got to. Everybody is like the problem is, everybody's trying to compete the comparison trap.
Yeah.
If people are neurodivergent or they have issues, and a lot of times it's like that could be a blessing. Like a lot of times in artistry, like creatives, I find a lot of us are neurodivergent. Like I've talked to like, and it's like something they can actually pull from. They can actually use. So instead of thinking what you have is a problem, you say, well, this is where I am. This is it. This is what reality is. So then you got a baseline. And it's like, I will learn at my own pace. If you get in the comparison trap, I got to learn like the Joneses learn.
Yeah.
Well, what you take from it is your own thing, right?
Yeah.
And how everybody perceives something, that's how you get to have your own spin, have your own say, be your own individual self. If individualism is so big, how come everybody's trying to be like the Joneses?
Yeah.
Like you got to like that is your secret sauce.
Yeah, exactly. They only made one of us. That's it. Only one of you, only one of me, only one of Tucker, my son. That's it. They only made one. Yeah. And that's the thing. His subconscious mind was trying to protect him as a reader. Now all of a sudden, his subconscious mind, it's in that love bucket. That memory doesn't need to be protected. It doesn't need to keep him from falling in the pool. And he could just read and enjoy his day. And I think you're right. A lot of very creative, very special individuals have very hypersensitive in a lot of different ways. And my son is one of those people. He's very in tune with his emotions, and he's able to just walk through all of them now, because when he has one he doesn't like, he's like, "Hey, Dad, we need to talk about this. How do I make this one go away?"
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool to see.
But you learn how to actually handle it. Like we kind of, like in the past, a lot of generations said, to be a man, you got to suck it up. You got to
Yeah,
push it down. And
yeah,
even in those eras, they had, like, the Victorian poets that were talking about the looking glass self.
yeah,
Even though people were telling them suck it up, they were the creators of the day. Were saying, I got to look in that mirror and I got to understand what's coming back at me. And I got to
right,
dive into it and then use that to create. And he had all this art being created from that self-examination, and whether or not you're taken into art or you go into sports or you turn it into some kind of positive energy, right?
yeah,
So once you realize, instead of just crashing it down, pushing it down, and then it coming back and biting you, you
yeah,
actually dive into it and then use it.
absolutely. You know that the suicide rates over the last 10 years for males has gone up over 400%. And it's for the exact reason that you just said. Men and women, they're having issues too, because I don't want to downplay that, but
Mhm.
men particularly are still taught to push it down in and don't talk about it. You got to be a man, rub dirt on it, get back in the game, don't deal with those emotions. Well, if you're taught that you're alone and don't practice dealing with these emotions, then over time they just get bigger and stronger, because everything happened in the present moment. It's still happening. You
Yes,
can't
they're
just push
rare.
it down and then go away. It's there forever unless you go back and face it. And we're just not taught how to do it. And it's not the manly thing to do to work through your emotions and talk about them. So a lot of guys are really struggling out there pretty bad. And
Yeah, because sometimes the creativity gets defined as being like feminine. Right?
yeah,
And so then, like, when you're a creative, then people start saying, well, you're doing wussy stuff, you're doing foo-foo stuff, you're doing, like,
yeah,
what is that? But the fact is, it's a strength to understand, like, your lessons learned. Like, if you
yeah,
say, well, I'm sucking, I never did anything wrong, it's like, I'm just gonna, but you're gonna keep on doing the same thing if you don't analyze what actually happened, right?
right,
And so if you want to get out of the bad loop, you have to embrace what were the things in the bad loop that made you do the X. If you
yeah,
never go and discover, like, why did you do X, Y, and Z? Well, I just
yeah,
did it. Well, and it keeps on happening. It's, well, it's fate or it's somebody else.
right.
Tends to be the problem is you put it on somebody else. It's really you, and then you keep on changing your position. You change where you live, you change who you hang out with, but the same thing keeps on happening.
Yeah.
Like, because you never did the looking glass, you never looked in the mirror, you never really looked at, like, why is this happening?
Yeah.
It's hard because it may
It
have
is
to
hard.
answer some questions that you don't want to answer.
And a lot of times, looking back at the past, if you don't know how to deal with it, if you don't have a specific set of tools to be able to reprogram that subconscious mind, like if you know there's a problem in your program, but you don't know how to go back and rewrite that program is going to be screwed up. It is never going to get
Well, yeah,
fixed.
you got to ask that
And
subject
so,
matter expert.
yeah, exactly. Like, so if when people go back and face their fears like you're talking about, if you just talk about them, it's not, all it's going to do is bubble it up, and it's not going to help anything. And that's what I'm hoping that people can start to look at some alternative methods. And really, the Buddhists have been preaching this stuff for 2,500 years. They're very good
Yeah,
at showing people how to work themselves through this. And I developed my own writing exercise for anybody. I think I still spend $240 every 2 weeks to go to an energy therapist. He's an amazing human, but he basically taught me how all these inner workings work, how the program works. I'm becoming a very experienced computer programmer, but the computer I'm programming is my subconscious mind. And if you learn how to go back to one of these things that's screaming at us and haunting us on a daily basis, you can just reprogram and make it never bother you again. And that's an amazingly powerful thing. And that's honestly why why I'm on your show today, is because that power that I received, the healing experiences that I experienced through all that, I'm just trying to shout it to the world that this is possible. We can go back and make these things go away that are basically haunting us.
Yeah, because a lot of times, like, if I get into computer programming, like, you got syntax, you got things like, so you might not know it, right? You could be a coder and like, I don't know this COBOL stuff. I
Yeah,
don't understand the COBOL syntax. So you need a subject matter expert. So if you don't understand how to read your subconscious mind, right? You
yeah,
don't understand how to read the signals that are coming from, then you have to go to that person that knows the syntax of your subconscious mind.
yes,
And I'm a part Buddhist. I'm a Buddhist. I practice like a Nichiren Daishonin Buddhism, which is a Japanese form of Buddhism, but it's the same kind of concept. Still came
yeah,
from India. But the
yeah,
idea of kind of being present in your life, and then being able to you know have peaceful moments where you meditate, and you can actually like make things happen in terms of being a positive thinker, right? In terms of you can make something actually, you can self-actualize.
yeah,
You can actually make it happen. There's a lot of power in the spirit and the mind and the body. It's all,
yeah.
and that's hard for
Making
people
me,
because they think it's foo-foo and they don't think it can happen. But it's like, well, if you don't
uh,
believe it, then it won't happen.
no. But the Buddha, there's a quote by the Buddha that said, uh, if you want to stop suffering, you have to make the unconscious conscious, and
Mhm.
that's basically what's happening. Like if I was like I was talking earlier about how if somebody was to attack me and say something bad about my job, right? It would give the average person, and I always do this when I'm messing with, so I'll find out whatever their job is, and then I'll basically insult them in their job. And then I'll do the same thing and then call them an attorney, and then they're not an attorney. And they're like, well, why does one bother you and one doesn't? And people have, it's like 9 out of 10 times, everybody will have an involuntary sickness in their stomach. It's an involuntary response because of the computer program. It's, we can't think our way out of this problem. That computer program is making us work. It's like when you're driving home from work. Do you think about driving? Because most of the time we get home and we don't even remember driving.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
auto.
you're on autopilot because we taught our subconscious mind how to drive, and we just drive home. We're not unsafe. We drive really good subconsciously. We're just in here thinking. We might be on the phone. We're doing whatever, and we don't have to think about it. We don't think about walking. We don't think about talking. We do it all on autopilot. And because our subconscious mind is a masterful supercomputer, but it's, for a lot of us, the misery that's going on in our heads, the thoughts that are negative, that are reproducing in our head, it's all on autopilot. It's what we programmed, and we didn't even know that we programmed it that way.
Yeah,
The beautiful thing is we can go back and we can
you can
reprogram it
reprogram.
all.
Because the thing
It's so
about like
beautiful.
being like mindful and present and being able to meditate and to be able to direct. And a lot of times it's like if we're with creatives, it's like people talk about, oh, the muse, or I'm getting a download.
Yeah,
What you can believe however you want to believe, but a lot of times what it is you can actually in real time pull from your subconscious mind.
yes.
A lot of creative people, like when if you're with a musician and they're on stage and they're doing that solo, they're pulling, like they're doing their 10,000, 20,000 hours of getting their hand on the fretboard and knowing where it goes. But
So
when they get into the moment, they're actually pulling from all the subconscious stuff that's there, and they
yeah.
can pull from it.
So what's the you're creative dude? What's the guy that wrote the Creative Act? He's one of the most famous record producers of all time.
Oh, well, they're Phil Spector's a super producer, but
And not Phil, is somebody else. He did Run DMC in his
oh,
book.
I know who you're talking about. Yeah, I know now his
So
name.
anyway, he talks about these. He wrote a book about his life, and he said it went from a book about being creative to a book about how to live. But he talks about
Rick Rubin, I think. Yeah,
Rick Rubin. He talks about this in his book about exactly what you were saying. He basically just gets rid of the egoic mind, the thoughts. And when you get into a state of no mind,
it just happened.
creativity just flows. And
Yeah,
it just
I mean,
happens.
that's it's
And
hard
he's
for
no,
people to get because they was like, how can you be a writer? How can you be an actor? How could you be a creator? And so many people put a block on it. They make
yeah,
it so they can't do it because they
because
won't.
they're trying to use this
Yeah,
instead
that's
of
not
this.
what we use. It's coming from the subconscious mind. It's like a daydream it's like a dream, a night dream in the middle of the day.
Yeah,
And then people say, well, how would you do that? If you ask a lot of people, like they might be able to tell you what they hit. They go back and analyze like what all the notes I hit, but
yeah.
why they hit them is because
Where did
they're
it come
pulling
from? Yeah,
coming from the subconscious mind, and it's also the fact that you can pull both ways.
yeah,
Like when you get really good, you pull from what's externally out there in the
yes,
moment and what's inside at the moment.
yeah,
And that's the combination. Usually that's where you get the real sweet spot is that you are able to do that without
yeah.
logically thinking about it.
So I
And
got
that's a hard place to be sometimes for some people because they're
it
so
is, but
logical,
it's
they
not
can't get
that
over it.
hard if somebody gives you the tools, it's not that hard to do. So I don't normally talk about this about myself, but I try to teach other people how to do exactly what you're talking about. So Rick Rubin's book in there, I realized, okay, that it's not just a yogi thing. There's this guy over here, this big bearded white dude that's producing Run DMC. He's doing the same thing the Buddhists are talking about. I need to try this. So basically, I wrote a book about golf, and I kept getting stuck. I thought I had this masterful idea of incorporating breath work into the golf swing, and I wrote all my ideas down, and I had like 40 pages, and I was like, wait a minute, this ain't a book, this is a pamphlet. I can't put this out there, and I literally said, all right, I'm going to try this, and I got myself in a meditative state. I meditate all the time, but I never tried to use it this way. I get myself in a meditative state after about 15 minutes. Once my heart rate is really low and I'm super calm, just ask the question and then went back to breathing. And I mean, within 10 seconds, I got blasted with these amazing ideas that helped me just fill up. I was writing for the next 3 weeks off of one meditative session where I just got overwhelmed with all these creative ideas, and we can all do it. I train all the people that I life coach with to, hey, you got a big decision to make. Go into a meditative state, do your box breathing, pick a meditation that you like that you do. And then once you're in that meditative state, ask the question and then continue to breathe. Don't try to think of an answer. Just ask the question, get back to breathing, and I mean, you'd be surprised. Like we can all do exactly what you're talking about on demand, but we don't know how to do it.
Yeah,
But
because
it's
we've been kind of taught to live in boxes.
yeah,
We're taught to live in structure. And some of that a lot of that stuff is unstructured, kind of like in the wild, like the nature. Like you go
yeah,
and you look at a forest and you might say, hey, it's defined, everything's the same, right? No,
yeah.
it's not. When you actually
Uh,
start looking at it, it's very different. Everything's kind of like it's not all uniform.
uh,
Even if like pine forest or oak forest, it's not uniform at all.
uh,
There's so much detail, there's so much variation, right? And everybody's thinking that I gotta be in the box to be. I gotta be on the algorithm. I gotta
mm-hmm.
do what that guy with the million views did, right? I gotta do what this person with the 10,000 likes did. It's
Yeah,
like that. Well, that's what they did. That's not necessarily what you need to do,
yeah,
and that's always the hard lesson because people's like, well, how come I don't get the same result?
yeah, yeah. It's super hard, but at the end of the day, that comparison stuff, I've heard a lot of people make the argument that our phones are the death of us, right? Because of all the social
Doom
media and
scrolling.
all that stuff. But it's the good and the bad, yin and yang, right? Like everything in Buddhism has an opposite. And I would argue that I would have never found all of the help and gotten rid of all my anxiety and depression had I not had a phone,
Yeah. Well, it's a
because
big. It's like it's a democratization of technology.
oh my gosh, the
Yeah,
free flowing
it's basically
information.
it's a super computer. I mean, what's on our phones would be considered super computer level in the 60s, right?
Yeah,
And what we have on our phones today is way more powerful than what we had in the 80s or 90s
yeah.
on your desktop. Like your phone, that is more powerful than
Active,
your
just
desktop.
boom. Just,
Yeah,
it's
and
there. Anything you
it
want to
has
know, it's right there.
yeah, it's better communication, better internet, better with the AI and everything. It's like you have a Dewey Decimal System that you can go and get like anything if you know
Yeah,
what you could do research.
yeah,
You can get information like you're
yeah,
going to a library, going into like an archive, and if you do it right, I mean, you still you have to do things in a certain way. Like if you can get bad information because there's a garbage in, garbage out. Like
yeah.
you have to choose your sources. You have to verify. Just
Right.
don't go based on whatever you first get. Like that's the problem. Is like with the tech today, you can be a little lazy. You could go with the first response that comes back and say that's the gospel. That's it. You actually still have to verify.
Right.
And the problem is the tech gives you something that's very convincing.
Right.
The first answer could be very convincing, but it might not be right. Right.
Right.
So that's where people make mistakes because they're like, oh, this must be it. It's like, well, it's not, that's not it. You still have to do some work. Like
Yeah.
every time you do something, you dive is the first couple of things there when you're going in your journey to restructure
Yeah.
your mind, right? The first,
When I
it's
yeah,
not
when
going
I
to be
told
like hit it, right? It's not going to, the first hit is not it.
no, no, it's not. But like for me, let's say it's 6 years ago in 2018, 2019, uh, I hit this wall that we talked about earlier. That's the first thing I went to for help was my phone, and I found Tony Robbins, and I started watching all of his self help stuff and getting some good advice from him, and then went to meditating and Buddhism and all different types of directions, and you know those that information that I got, from all these Buddhists all over the world, giving this wisdom that was amazing. Stuff I never heard of. I was like, whoa, wait a minute, why did I not hear about this until now? Um, that stuff I would have never gotten any of that if we
Yeah.
wouldn't have had
Because a lot of
smartphones.
times, if you think about society, like if you're in a society, right, whether you're in an Eastern society, Western society, different culture, the tendency is to stay within the culture you're in.
Yeah,
And so, like when you do cross cultural learning or experience, right, then you get a lot of new knowledge that way
yeah,
go against like the canon. Like you might have been told this is the orthodoxy, this is what it is. You
yeah.
know,
Or you get pissed off at it, right? Like
yeah,
you go against it because that was kind of my thing. I grew up in Christianity was surrounding by me, but I got turned off on the judgment and a lot of different things, the way that Christianity was presented with me, and I was like, I don't want nothing to do with this. But today, I love Jesus. I think Jesus was wonderful. I I use a lot of because in every one of these the substance to be able to rewrite a core belief has one major component. You have to be able to go back and forgive everyone involved in that negative situation. So if you don't forgive everyone involved, you can't move it out of the fear bucket into the love bucket. You can't take it from that kid drowning in the pool and move it into a loving situation where the mind stops, subconscious mind will stop protecting you. And I use the phrase that Jesus used: I forgive them for they know not what they've done. And then I use another one that I people in pain, they cause pain. So I use those two sentences together,
mhm,
and that will literally forgive everyone. Like anybody that's ever done anything to anyone can be forgiven with those two sentences. I forgive you for you know not what you've done, and I forgive you because people in pain, they cause pain. And then all of a sudden, the subconscious mind will go, oh, wait a minute, we don't have any anger or anything with this, and we can reframe it. But, you know, it, I don't know how much of that Bible was written by Jesus and how much of it is real, but that's
yeah. Well,
extremely
yeah. I think
powerful.
they're prophets from every like ancient civilization. All of humanity has
Yeah,
created prophets and like ancient knowledge. Even
right.
going back to indigenous peoples have all this like medical knowledge about plants and plant medicine and all these like ideas about the earth. So there's this humanity has all this historical knowledge coming from people who were, medicine women and men and
Yeah,
thought leaders and religious leaders and philosophical leaders, and I think it's all important. And Jesus is
yes,
part of that, and Buddha was
he
part.
is.
There's all multiple. The problem is like people get into a lane And then they say, this is the only
They
way.
get closed off.
Like
Yep.
if you're in a mindset that this is the only way, you get tunnel vision. And so when something doesn't work, then you blame something else. Like
Right.
usually it's outside yourself, which
Yeah.
isn't really going to solve any problems. Like
Nope.
it's like if everything that's wrong is outside yourself, it's outside what you've been taught. It has nothing to do with anything you've done
Yeah.
or anything you know. Then you're going to be very limited in your responses. But
Hmm.
when you're more expansive in your mind and in
Yeah.
your willingness to know, it's like I don't know everything. Like I could learn until I'm not here. Right.
Right.
That's kind of where the expansion is. Like if you know that you don't know everything, you know you could do better every day. You do your best. You don't have to win every day, but you could get better,
Yeah.
right? And if the problem is if all or nothing, yes or
Yeah.
no.
An identity, right? You put it on your identity. I am now this. So now everything else is an attack against that.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
just get locked into 0 and 1, yes and no, black and white.
Yeah.
And it's not actually the way of the world. If you go into the forest, it's not all black and white. It's a
Oh,
lot of
no.
gray areas. You go out in nature, there's a lot of things that are like, oh, that's a paradox, right?
Yeah.
So you're like, oh,
Absolutely.
even in science, there's all these paradoxes, all these theorems that have to get rewritten because we get new knowledge.
Hmm.
You find out like, well, does a black hole do this? Does it that? Does a quasar do that? Every day they only know so much. Every day
Right.
something new happens and it's like you learn something else. And
Yeah.
so you can't hold on to what you knew yesterday because it just got disproven. So it's like, oh, okay. I mean, willing to like understand that it could be disproven. But if you're locked in, there's like no way it could be disproven, then you
Yeah.
kind of don't
You
have
stop
anywhere to
learning. Yeah. Exactly. I try to maintain the eternal student perspective because I don't know anything. I take from Jesus, I take from the Buddha, I take from anybody else that there's anything that hits that makes sense, and I try to process it. And one of the things that is kind of cool for your show about creativity and stuff is, I heard this a while back, and it just hit me really hard. But multiple things on the creativity thing, but Jesus created the heavens and earth in 5 days. The sixth day, he created man and rested on the seventh day. So, Jesus, what did he do for work? Right? He created, and that's what we should all be doing every day in our daily lives. And uh, science is now backing that people with severe depression and anxiety, if they'll just do something that is creative back, it it calms it all down.
Oh
It
yeah.
calms it all down when you start
Yeah,
to
right.
do what Jesus was doing when he went to work. Now you do that as work, all of a sudden everything starts to just calm down and the body starts to just reset just because we're using creativity.
I think the problem is like if you get stuck in the space of the mind
Yeah,
and you don't act, if you just keep it inside and you don't take those thoughts and turn them into actions and turn them into something,
yeah,
right? Then you start to suffer the bad loop of those thoughts.
yes,
And people who get locked into no option but be in the bad loop, then make bad decisions, make mistakes, make actions that are not actually going to be indicative of a good future.
yeah,
So when you actually start to take those things and then try to process them in a diary, in a painting, in a knitting, in cooking, in going out and coming up with a play for your sports team, being creative, you can physically still, you might not be an artist, but athletes can be artists in
yeah,
terms of what they do. They come up with new plays, new ways of doing things.
yeah,
There's a creative process that you can put into your physical actions. And so, the coaches know that. Anybody
yeah,
who's a lead player knows that. It's like you have to strategize. That takes
yeah,
thinking, that takes planning, takes creativity. So there's
yeah.
still creativity in everything you do. You don't have to be a musician to be a
No,
creator. You have to be a writer or a painter to be a creative. But I believe creativity is your way out if
it
you're in
is.
that bad place.
It absolutely is. It's proof. And I've only had so many people go through this program, but probably 50 come in here, and there's probably 10 of them that they're so clinically uh, depressed, that they're not going to do an hour a day that my program requires. Right?
Mm-hmm.
They're just not well. They need medication. They need to calm down. And so when the advice that I didn't know to give them early on that I've been giving them of late is go paint, is go take a painting with a twist class, go take a dance class, go do something. And it's like flipping on a light switch. Anybody who's in those type of states and they get out, they get around people, and they tap into their creativity at whatever level. You don't have to be good. We're not
You
trying
don't
to
be,
be
yeah, you don't
yeah,
have to be.
yeah, you don't have to be the best at anything here. All you have to do is just tap into that, and all of a sudden it kind of gives them it kind of allows them to breathe a little bit to where they can actually go, all right, I may not be able to work an hour a day on this, but if I keep doing these creative things here, I can start working on myself and start to deal with some of these issues.
Yeah, because there's just so much noise. Like in this society, one of the bad things about the phone, I like the phone. I mean, I use tech because I'm a musician and I'm a synthesist. So I use synthesizers and I use like old ones and new ones from the
Okay.
70s and 60s and ones from today. But the idea is like in music, there's an idea called there's this distortion, there's noise, there's discordance, and there's harmony. Now, harmony is when everybody's like at the lighter and you're at the concert and everybody's like kumbaya, or like a distortion
Yeah.
and discordance could be like a punk rock, grunge mosh pit.
Okay.
Right? Then people are kind of chaotic in the band. Well, somebody could get hurt. So, like, you can be in that state and it could be cool, but it's discordance and it's this noise and it's distortion. So, like, in terms of like where you are on the spectrum, like you can have distortion and discordance and noise, but you're going to kind of get locked into that. You have to find a way to the harmony. You
Yeah.
have to find a way to the something that actually is like a melody or something that is more going to calm your kind of wild, like bad loop. and,
Yeah.
and that's like if you can get into some kind of art that takes away that noise,
Yeah.
like, that starts to
You
get
know,
you more focused and less discordant, then you're going to start the law of attraction will happen and you'll be able to be around the people with the right vibes.
you the first 3 weeks of my program is basically teaching people how to manually shift themselves out of the fear bucket into the love bucket. And the reason why I do that first is because all of us, just like what you're saying, get out of that discord and get into that rhythm, that smooth vibration there, is because our brains are being pushed by a chemical, one of two chemicals at all times. And most people have no idea this. This is what it should be taught to third graders. What I'm about to say should be taught to everyone. Everybody should understand this, but everybody knows what cortisol is,
Mm-hmm.
but nobody knows what oxytocin is.
Mm-hmm.
And your the content, sorry about that, but the content of your thoughts will produce one of two chemicals. If you're having negative, fearful thoughts, your brain is going to produce cortisol. And so those fearful thoughts will get put on a loop, like you spoke about earlier. Like you can't get out of that because it just keeps going. That's what cortisol is designed to do. It's actually trying to keep you alive from something fearful. So if a lion was trying to get you and you're hanging out in the woods,
fight
and
or flight.
yeah, it's put you on high alert so you don't fall asleep and the lion come eat you. So but most people have no idea that if you'll just do a gratitude journal, or you'll basically speak positive, compassionate, loving thoughts, then your brain will go, oh, wait a minute, you're safe. Clink. After 2 minutes of positive, compassionate, loving thoughts, your brain will flip that switch and you'll start to make oxytocin. And if you'll do it for 10 minutes, you'll be drug-induced happy for no reason. You won't even know why. You could be in the most depressed state, and I could sit here with you and do I call it the gratitude game, where we both just say what we're grateful for, go back and forth for 10 minutes. And the most depressed person will actually get relieved. And if you're super depressed and you're clinically depressed, like it'll only last for 5 minutes afterwards and it'll go right back. But it'll give the freedom and the feeling. You'll feel that heart space. You'll feel that just your heart chakra open up. You'll feel just wonderful, but it's a drug-induced state. The same way that the cortisol is putting us into a fearful state that's making us miserable.
Yeah, I'm starting to understand like the body mind, connection and the chemicals that are inside your body for the, all the different hormones that regulate your system. And as
Yeah,
you start getting like really into Eastern medicine and indigenous culture, they had a lot of control because they didn't have all these distractions other than
yeah,
the wolf at the door. But like they started to really dive into it. Like a lot of indigenous and older cultures, the Eastern cultures all around the world,
yeah,
they dove into like what you're talking about. And
yeah,
there's amassed a lot of knowledge that like modern medicine, because they wanted to control it.
yeah.
Pharmaceuticals want to control it, drug companies want to control it, like different people want to control like the solution. So
This puts pharmaceutical companies out of business. Dr. Joe Dispenza has now done studies. Like he studies this. He spent his whole life studying this, and he's basically proven now that if you just do a gratitude journal, 30 minutes, 3 times a day, so an hour and a half, your body will produce so much oxytocin that it will kick in and start creating immunoglobulin B. Immunoglobulin B literally searches out any part of your body that's not healthy and will repair it. Like what? Like why do we not know this? Like why as a people are we not using our brain to heal our bodies?
well, because it got farmed out and we were told, right, for immediate like if you get a wound and you got to have a surgeon stitch it up. And then
Yeah,
it became, well, they're going to solve all those every kind of medical problem. And
yeah,
then what the issues in the mind got, we got to go to psychiatrists, got to go to psychologists. And so
right.
then people started saying, well, the only answer is coming from top down. No, like that, I'm a cancer survivor, so I took radiation therapy and I had an oncologist. So I mean, there's certain things that you have to do. But I
Yeah,
also at the same time I had my spiritual Buddhist practices of mindfulness and meditation. It was kind of like it's not all or nothing. I kind of took it all at once.
yeah.
I was
Why as
taking
well? Yeah,
Eastern and Western, but the tendency today is that it's X or Y, it's 0 or 1, it's on or off. Sometimes
yeah,
it's a lot of different things.
yeah.
And I always kind of suspected when people say it's only one thing, like no, it's usually a combination of a lot of things.
Yeah. And I would go back to like preventative maintenance type of a thing because their science is basically proving now that stress, aka cortisol, is the leading cause of all illness on this planet. Like that is what's causing most of us of what we're getting. Like some people, they've got some rare stuff and they got some imbalances and some a few things here, but literally stress is now the leading cause of all illness because that's what's causing heart disease. That's what's causing, diabetes and some of these other things that don't have to be there if our stress levels would just come down. We move over here into this other thing, and the cortisol is literally a poison. It's literally a poison that's clogging up our entire system. And it's to me that's the preventative maintenance. If we could learn a daily gratitude practice and we can learn to manually shift ourselves out and then go into the supercomputer, heal ourselves, and those things that create the negative thoughts, like mine used to be, I was stupid. When I make those go away, now all of a sudden I'm not getting ate up with cortisol when I'm about to go to a meeting at 40 years old from something that happened to me when I was in kindergarten. You
Well, I
know,
think so, a lot of the modern world puts us into like hyper anxiety. It puts us into these stressful situations where the wolf is at the door and your
yeah,
cortisol is going crazy because like we create these box situations, these bad loops. And then we don't give people what we're told is, well, to get happy, go eat that junk food. To get happy,
mm-hmm,
go smoke those cigarettes. Get happy, drink that alcohol. Get happy, take this pill.
yep,
And then what don't get taught is like maybe you should take a walk in the woods because nature is the cathedral. You don't get
yeah,
taught that maybe you should do some Tai Chi in the middle of the day instead of going to get the Starbucks.
yeah,
Maybe you should do some breathing exercises instead of like eating that Snickers bar. Like so the problem is like we've been given these easy way outs. because
Yeah.
we get inundated with advertisements, inundated with things saying, do this, do that, do that. And it's usually for some monetary gain for somebody else, right?
Yeah.
Instead of you actually taking care of yourself, you're just taking care of their bottom line.
It's true. It's unfortunate, but all those drugs that you were just talking about, you're getting, serotonin's a good drug. We're having a good conversation, so we're both releasing serotonin. But the drug companies realize it. Food is you're going to get dopamine. You're going to get all these dopamine hits from all these different things. Drugs, alcohol, that's going to give you another dopamine hit and all these things. But nobody ever talks about oxytocin, and you can get that drug just by changing the thoughts in your head, by taking control of them and making them positive. So yeah, we could do all these things, but honestly, we can just sit in a chair, create positive, compassionate, loving thoughts for everyone and everything, and all of a sudden, we're going to find ourselves sitting on the chair just peaceful and happy and healthy because we're producing something that actually heals our body versus something that poisons our body.
I think 'cause we're always looking for the external like fix.
Yeah,
When again, going back to like the looking glass self, the Victorians kind of knew it. And Buddha and indigenous people knew it. It's like you gotta look in.
yeah,
When you go inward and then you start to get control of your mind
yeah,
and the control of your thoughts. So they're not just racing, trying to
yeah,
get the next, like, I'm just trying to grab that rabbit. I'm just trying to get it before it goes down the hole. It's like
yeah,
no, it's like you need to actually calm down, focus, take rest. A lot of our society is so made on productivity and efficiency, doesn't consider it's very inefficient for you to be broken.
yeah. You gotta get back in it. You gotta get back in the game.
So it's like,
Yeah, I got a
so,
guy that works for us. I got 7 different companies here. One of them's a concrete company. He's at chemotherapy today, and all he wants to do is work. That's all he wants to do. I couldn't tell him to stay home if I tried. It would be an assault against him, and I love him to death and whatever. And he's in the thick of the fight right now, and I hope he makes it well. But to your point, that's all he knows. That's
it's
all he
kind of
knows.
what we've been told. That's the badge of honor.
Yeah,
That's how you get to Horatio Alger myth. Like that's how you get there, right? But when you
yeah,
get there in a box, then you're not here. You might be somewhere else,
yeah.
and you're into your next life. But you actually didn't resolve this life because you were chasing something that you didn't need. Like, was it real? Like, if
Most of
you're
it's not.
a lot of times, like, if people are doing these careers, you get lawyers, you get people who are, actuaries. Like, ask them, are they happy? No, they're
Yeah,
not happy. So, what are you chasing then?
yeah.
Why
That's
are
that's
you
Tony
doing it?
Robbins' whole deal, right? Tony Robbins teaches all these billionaires, and they're all miserable. They're coming to him because they're a billionaire who's miserable.
It
You
didn't
know?
solve it. The problem is they keep on trying to get more.
Yeah, and
And then
that
they
doesn't
find
fix
out
it.
it's actually the more is taken away from everybody else. And then they're not even happy.
No,
So
they're not.
you've gone hoarded the resources of the planet
Yeah,
into a small group of people. And then you wonder why you're not happy.
yeah.
Because you're
The only
kind of
way to
doing
find that.
something that's very vibrationally out of tune. Like
Yeah,
you're discordant, but you think you're in some state of harmony. But if you're in some state of harmony, why are you not happy?
exactly. Yeah. The only place to find that is turning and going inward. The
Yeah.
only way you're going to get it there is going inward. And most people don't realize this. And I'll meditate a couple, 2 or 3 hours every night, and then I'll fall asleep. Some nights maybe 45 minutes. Some nights it's 3 or 4 hours, and I don't get no sleep. But there is a hidden world around us that we can't see. And if you close your eyes and go inward, it starts to expand and expand and expand and expand. Before long, like I have more fun in there than I do out here,
Yeah. Well, that's
And then all of a sudden, this all becomes a game, and I'm all of a sudden I'm happy out here because I feel like I've got a home base, and I don't know that I could even articulate the way that my life has changed by turning and going inward and
you
just
change the game. Yeah, you
yeah,
change the game because
yeah,
the game that most people are playing is kind of designed for you not to win,
yeah.
right?
I agree.
So if you're playing a game where like you don't own the resources, you don't own the means, right? You're just a cog in the machine.
Yeah.
Of course, if you're a cog in a machine, are you going to be happy?
Uh-uh.
'Cause-
And that's your point. Like, if that's what I'm trying to do is help give people the knowledge to pull themselves out, because nobody has to be. Even if you got to go to work, you got bills, I get it. You can't just pull yourself out of that. But I still got a job. I show up every day at work at 5:45. I stay till 5 o'clock, maybe 4:30. I'm in here every day. I'm still part of the cog, but I'm happy.
Well,
And
you
I'm
find
only,
you find your side gigs or your real passion project, which a
well, yeah,
lot of
helping
people are
other
doing.
people.
It's kind of
But
like, yeah,
I figured out how to help people in this job.
yeah,
I remember a Buddhist talking about a guy who he was talking about a brick maker. That's one of the worst jobs you could do. It kills your knees, kills your hands, and when you're busting bricks and stacking bricks, like everything vibrates and you're just in pain. But he talked about how this guy was the happiest guy that he'd ever met, because he was grateful all day long for what he was building. And he took so much pride, and his thoughts were ate up with compassion and love and pride for what he was doing all day
he's a
long. The pain
craftsman.
was secondary. It didn't matter. So he's producing oxytocin all day long. He's living one of the most wonderful lives that anybody could ever live, doing one of the most miserable things that anybody could ever do. And for me, that was like a light bulb. Like, wow, well, this guy could do it. I'm in the AC and I'm working here. I got a really good job, but I could turn my job into the most wonderful thing. And I just, all of a sudden, a couple of years later, my job is the greatest place. I can't wait to show up at work. I'm excited on Monday morning. I'm not sad on Sunday that I got to go back to work.
Well, when you start to realize like your place in the universe, right, and you realize that you do have power over how you perceive things.
Yeah.
So you can perceive that everything's going wrong, or you can perceive that things are in a better state, right?
Yeah.
And that you actually have room to grow. If people feel like they hit the ceiling and they say, I'm at the ceiling, right? Well, that ceiling a lot of times is your own self-created ceiling,
Yeah.
right? So if you put yourself under the ceiling, like you could bust through it at any time. It's a glass ceiling, you could break right through it, right? Like, but you perceive somehow it's like steel, and there's no
Right.
way you're gonna get through it because you can't hammer your way through it, and that's it. It's just like it's a mind shift, like you're saying. Like
Right.
you shift your mind to like be like the bricklayers, like they actually have passion for what they do.
Yeah.
But if you're in
Create
that
the
job and
context of your thoughts.
you just
Yeah.
looking to leave, they like when you get there at 9, you wish it was like 5.
Yeah.
Like, well, then you're not gonna have a good time at all, and then you're gonna be producing all these
Miserable.
bad like hormones, and you're gonna get sick because like
Yeah.
you're just not framing it right. So maybe you need to change that space because that's not the right one for you.
Yeah.
Or maybe just reframe how you're actually
But if
experiencing
you,
that day.
yeah, if you carry the same mindset to another job, doesn't matter which job you go to, you're still going to be miserable.
Yeah,
But if
yeah,
you
that's
learn
it.
how, yeah, if you learn how to reframe this to where it doesn't matter what I'm doing, I'm happy. Now all of a sudden, it doesn't matter where I'm at, what I'm doing. I'm in a peaceful, joyful state. Life starts to change and it becomes really beautiful. Um, but most people don't understand these simple tools, because when you start to use them, everything changes. I talk about hope. Like people, if you see a light at the end of the tunnel and you think it's a train, life is miserable. But
Mhm.
if you're going through all these things and you're struggling with all this misery, and your family's always trying to get you, or your friends aren't true friends, and when that person's talking about me, and this is all that chaos is being perceived inside of this. And you can reframe every bit of that. Like, oh, okay, my family's struggling. They're all struggling, just like I am. I forgive them for what they're doing. They don't understand. People in pain, they cause pain. And oh, these people over here, I get it. They're trying to get through their day just like I am. I love them, even for their faults. I'll love them for exactly who they are. And just maintain that positive, compassionate mindset in everything. Everything changes, man. I started using road rage with a lot of my clients, especially the young men, because they want to get mad at clients. They want to get mad in the traffic. Somebody cuts them off and they get mad and they pop real quick. And I started doing this a long time ago, and I would just create an imaginary reason why they needed to pull me in front of me. And I wish them well, because their kid's sick and they're trying to get home. Their wife is crying and sick kid. And I'm like, oh man, I hope you get home safely and whatever. I know you cut me off. You weren't paying. You were so distracted. Man, I really hope your kids get home. You get home safely to your family. And now all of a sudden I do that so much, it's on automatic. If a car bucks me off, I'm automatically, it's on autopilot. I'm giving that car compassion, and I have no rage well up in me.
Yeah, you don't have to have an aggressive response like it was a slight to you. They're not even thinking about you.
And now they don't get any space in my mind to alter my state of mind. I get to stay in oxytocin. I get to keep being happy with the love drug, and I just keep having a wonderful day. They don't impact it. But that's how quickly we can get ourselves into the cortisol. Like, oh, I can't believe it. And then you go home and you're talking about how horrible traffic was, and well, that was a long time ago. Like, you're still stuck on that. Like,
you don't need to focus on. Like, yeah, I think it's like learn how to love being you is really a great refrain, and it's like it is on your URL there. Yeah, and we have kind of reached the end of our show. We hit the hour mark without even realizing it. It always goes by very quickly. But like, if people click on your URL, is that how they get into your program?
Yeah, absolutely. And my website's a little rusty, and it's new. I've only been doing this for about 8 months, but I've been coaching people one-on-one for about 3 years. Life coaching, sports psychology. But my main passion and goal is all the tools that we were talking about here today. And there's more, but really just learning to take control of your mind and body. There are actionable items about how the mind and body works. Like, it's just like a computer that you work on. There's a program, and you can reprogram it to make it work for you. And I really hope everybody kind of understands that and gets a little hope that they don't have to just live with the chaos that's in their head. It can be reprogrammed.
I want to let people know that URL is clickable on all the platforms we've been on. We've just been on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Kick Live, and we'll be on major podcast platforms like Spotify, Apple, and iHeartRadio. By tomorrow, I want to thank you for being a guest on the Family Electric Ghost podcast. Have a good night.
Thank you.